Hey there, this is Taya, and today we'll talk about leash safety. A lot of people, when they figure out that I have a reactive Belgian Malinois, they say, hey, how can you handle him like that? You're not that big yourself, so how can you walk him on a harness every single time and not get dragged or not get to the nearest lamppost? Well, this is simple. I know these leash hacks that I'm gonna teach you today. You might actually say, hey, it's so simple, we have leashes, we know how to use them, we survived that, everything's fine, so why do you think you can teach us? Well, because I wouldn't be teaching you if I hadn't seen this on a walks, having handle like that, or if I haven't seen this on walks, having your leash like that. So please, please, please don't do that. Today, we're gonna learn how to handle a leash like a pro. So before we even start talking about the leash itself, let's talk about our bodies. So we are not as strong as dogs can be, and having a lunging dog or having a reactive dog or aggressive dog or simply the dog that saw a squirrel and wasn't that reactive before might be a pain in the butt, right? So before we even start talking about the leashes, we need to talk about how do we handle our body. Because if you're gonna stand like that, and imagine this wardrobe is my dog, right? If you're gonna stand like that and you're just walking your dog, you're being relaxed, you're walking your dog, and your dog lunges, what you're gonna do, you're gonna have your arm forward, your leash in front of you, and you're gonna dive into the pavement. No one wants to see that happen. So if your dog lunges, let's take our leash as our point of view. So the dog is there and you're walking your dog and you're making a step and you're making another step and you're making another step and your dog lunged. So with an opposite leg, the leg that is further behind, you make a step and you rotate. So instead of being dragged in front, you're just rotating your body and having this sort of kickboxing position when you're parallel to your leash. So your hips should be parallel to your leash, your knees should be parallel to your leash, and your shoulders should be parallel to your leash. The biggest secret is the knees. You gotta bend them, you gotta bounce, because that's the biggest improvement you can have. It's way harder to have the dog than to handle the dog with only your arms than with your whole body. And if you position your body right, it means that you can handle the dog better and you can have less injuries or have no injuries at all. So, hips parallel to the leash, hips parallel to the leash, shoulders parallel to the leash, a little bounce in that knees, and you gotta keep your arms and your hands closer to your hips. So all the power that you have is gonna be in your hips. If you have your leash down here, the dog lunges and your arms will be flying around. But when you have your arms closer to your body, and I know it's not that comfortable to walk like that, I understand that, but safety first, and this is your safety. If you have your hands closer to your hips, this will help lock the position better. And that's about the position. This is all very, very simple. You gotta practice it, because leash handling skills and skills of positioning your body in a correct way is still a skill that you have to develop. So don't be ashamed to just grab your leash, and if you want, I can make it your homework. This will be your homework. Grab your leash, grab your body, and just fixate it somewhere, and just try all of these things that I'm gonna show today, especially the body positions. Teach yourself how to rotate fast enough. Teach yourself how to bounce that knees, not to lock them in a straight position. And all of that will gonna help you tremendously, especially if you are a dog walker or a dog trainer and you didn't know that trick, or if you're handling larger dogs on a regular basis. So then we have our leash. This is known as the handle. It is also called thumb loop. The reason why it's called the thumb loop is you have to lock your thumb around the loop. That was simple enough. I'm sorry, I feel stupid right now, but I hope it's helpful. So yeah, you have your thumb, you put it in the loop, you rotate your hand and you lock it. This is the correct way to hold the leash. You can also do it with other fingers, but I personally don't find it as comfortable as holding it with just your thumb and a locked hand. I know it takes some practice, especially if you're used to walk your dog like this, like a regular way. This will take some practice. It might be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but this is just a safety precaution. So, what to do if you want to shorten your leash? There is a golden rule that I often use that I really like. So if you shorten your leash and the dog part of your leash is coming near your thumb, so here, this is a sliding lock. So it's way easier for your dog to pull and take out as much leash as needed, even though it's a biothane leash, so it's not as sleeky. Then you have the other way around, when the dog part of a leash is coming out near your pinky. This is a better lock, and this allows more control, and it's way harder to pull it out. So if you want to give your dog some slack and you want to give the dog, I don't know, if you're taking your dog to a potty break and you want to give as much of the leash as the dog desires, you can just hold it in a sliding lock, and the dog will take as much leash as the dog wants. If you don't want to allow that, you just allow the leash to go down to your pinky, and then it'll be way more secure. Then there are 3 ways to lock your leash and make it way more secure. So the first one is the thumb lock. It's the same way as you're holding your leash, your handle. You basically make a small loop, and then you put it over your thumb and you put it in your fist. That's the thumb lock. So this is one way of doing that. There is a finger lock. Finger lock is something like a thumb lock, but it just uses your, I don't know, is it called index finger? I guess it's an index finger, sorry. So you also make this small loop and you put it over your finger, and then you make a fist. And this will be a finger lock. So again, it's very secure. You can do it in either your left and your right hand. It doesn't really matter, as long as you're more comfortable. Or if you have a reactive dog, it's better to keep the side on which you keep the leash the same side on which your dog walks. So if your dog walks, sorry, that was unnecessarily complicated. If your dog walks on your right side, you better keep the leash on in your right hand. If your dog walks on your left side, you better keep the leash on your left hand. That's easier. Sorry for that overly complicated sentence. So, thumb lock, the same idea with the leash. You loop it around your thumb, you lock it. Second, finger lock. You loop it around your finger, you lock it in a fist. Third thing is accordion hold. Actually, I didn't even know, I used it for quite some time, and I didn't even know it was called accordion hold, but now I know, thanks to Simpatico Dog Training, so big shout out to them. If you are not following their channel, you should. I really like their content, and yeah, just, I don't know, give them a like. So, accordion hold. Again, Simpatico Dog Training, thank you for that. You have your leash, you grab it and you hold it. It was way complicated than, the explanation was way complicated than the technique itself. So basically, it's not like you're going to need those rings, especially if you have like a long line. Please never loop the leash like this, simply because one lunge of a dog and your hand is caught in this loop, and it's very hard to get it out, especially if your dog continues to drag it, and it's very painful. The same way we don't take the handle and hold it like that, the same way we don't wrap the leash around our hand, because it's very painful, it can be very dangerous, it can lead to mechanical burns. So when the leash slides around your fingers real fast, it can leave like burn marks, or in very severe cases it can lead to degloving, where basically your skin comes off your hand, and no one wants that. So please, when you have a long line, don't put it in those types of loops. Just hold it with a nice accordion hold like this. So you take the slack, you bring it like this, and then if you want to add more, my leash is not that long, But if you want to add more, you just add more. And this is very, very safe. And if you want to keep your handle in the correct way, you can also do that. Now there are some very, very important safety rules that you have to keep in mind when you're walking your dog. So first of all, if you have a long line, please don't leave the slack behind. Why? Because the dog can start, the dog can lunge, and then the dog has way more time to accelerate and bring that acceleration onto you. So it'll be way harder to hold on to that leash if you don't have the slack in your hands nicely collected, if it's just on the ground. Second thing, whether you should walk your dog on the same side or on a different side, meaning you should hold the leash in one hand or the other hand. If you have a reactive dog, it does matter to you. If you don't have a reactive dog, it doesn't really matter. So your dog can walk on your right and you can hold the leash in your left hand, and your dog can walk on your left and you can hold the leash in your right hand. Why it matters for the reactive dog? Because it's way simpler to hold the dog in place and to be able to quickly react if your dog is on the same side. Otherwise, if your dog walks on the left and you have the leash on the right hand, you might have like diagonal torsion when your dog will go that way and you simply fall flat, face flat on the ground. It's not too nice. So, safety first, please be aware of that. Again, please don't loop your leash like that around your hand. Please don't, when your dog crosses behind you, don't leave the leash hanging behind you, because then you're basically one lunge away from rotating 360 and then landing on your butt in the best case scenario. And also, if you're holding the leash correctly and you do have a reactive dog, then you can just have your finger lock, and if you keep your hips parallel to the leash, then you can just hold it with both hands, and it's way more comfortable and way more secure. So yeah, a big shout out to people who are saying, hey, we don't care, we're walking the dog as regularly and that's okay, and it doesn't really matter. My dog is alive and that's my second or third dog. Yeah, okay, I don't really mind if that's comfortable for you. But if you're a new dog owner, or if you have a large reactive dog and you actually truly want to learn how to handle the leash, then those tips are extremely useful, and you can just use them in your everyday life. And that's okay if you don't know how to do it correctly on the first try. Handling a leash is a skill that you have to develop, and you have to dedicate some time to it. So you can either make it the task of your walk, or you can just grab your leash right now and just practice. And especially helpful if you just practice to switch from one hand to another in the correct way, from one hold to another in a correct way, and also without looking. So from, let's say, from just handling the handle to thumb loop, from the thumb loop to finger loop, from finger loop to shortening the leash and adding another finger loop, from having a loose leash to accordion hold. So just take some time and practice, because it's a very necessary skill. It's a tool that you use daily, and you have to know how to handle it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in my next videos. Bye bye.